Here's my theory, Albert, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Jerry Jones traded Micah Parsons to build a contender. That was his wish while Dak Prescott was still in his prime. Okay, Dak Prescott's 32. This is the best he's looked in years. The Cowboys almost beat the Eagles, who are undefeated in week one. They staved off the Giants in a massive shootout the following week. They tied the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. To me, they look like one player away from being a contender with Dak Prescott in his prime. Imagine that. Do you know who that player? Do you know who that player would be? I mean, am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, this was impressive. They did this without CeeDee Lamb too.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Pickens has his breakout game. Pickens looked great.
Well, Pickens had his breakout game because CeeDee Lamb
was hurt.
Pickens is a soloist, right?
Yeah,
he wants to be the only receiver on the field, and that was a good thing for him on Sunday.
Right. Like Javonte Williams, I think has looked really good, and you got to be happy for him with all the injury stuff he went through in Denver. Like I don't know. I mean, like this surprised me. Like I thought this was after about 10 minutes. This one, I was like, oh, this is going to be 42-0. I'm going to be. Like I could spend the second half writing. I don't have to worry about this one. You know what I mean? Like, and lo and behold, I thought that the Cowboys showed a lot of character. And I will say this, like, I think Brian Schottenheimer deserves credit for, I mean, there's almost like you can see that like he's got like a team that's relentless. And I know these are all cliches, but like, the whole idea of they're dead because of this or they're dead because of that or this bad thing happened. The Malik Neighbors touchdown, which would completely deflate a lot of teams the way that one happened. And this group just rolls with the punches. You know what I mean? Like I think you have to give the staff a lot of credit for that, and that like that team has an ability and a resilience to it to keep coming. And, I think it goes without saying Dak played great. They ran the ball well. I mean, it looked like a really well-rounded team that, maybe is one pass rusher away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, but so Jerry Jones was saying in the NBC pregame situation was an absolute embarrassment. I thought that was so pathetic. And for those of you who didn't see it, Jerry Jones did a hard-hitting interview with Jason Garrett before and basically narrated.
Well, he also got it wrong. Did you notice that? Maybe I'm the only one who noticed this.
Well, he told Jason Garrett that he opened the stadium.
Which he didn't. It was Wade Phillips.
He didn't. Yeah, it was. But
Garrett was the offensive coordinator, so he was there, but it was Wade Phillips.
I
would have loved to have seen Wade's reaction. Probably Wade would have had a good one-liner for that one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But he put himself in a position where he could control the narrative before the game and basically demonize the agent again, which is just, it's a continuation of this perpetual stupidity that's costing him more money and is going to continue costing him more money. And that money is going to continue to prevent him from keeping the books straight and being able to build a contender. If you go all the way back to when the Dak Prescott's deal was up the first time or when CeeDee Lamb should have been paid, I mean, we've been over this ad nauseum, but it's so frustrating that no one, and it's not going to be Jason Garrett, it's going to be like, hey, do you think if he paid these guys on time, he might have had enough in the kitty to pop for Micah Parsons and then we wouldn't have to be here right now? But that's not a conversation.
The shame of it for me, though, is like that I actually think they've got a lot of good people in that organization. And I think it's a pretty well-run place. Like, I really do. And I say that without any sarcasm. Like, I think Will McClay is one of the top personnel people in all football. They've done a really good job of not just having frontline players and hitting on guys like Micah Parsons in the first round, but then they dig out like a Deron Bland. They dig out an Osa Odigizua. Like, they dig out guys later in the draft. They constantly have the next guy ready to replace the guy before. Like, even like in the case of Parsons, like Ezeraku looks like he's going to wind up being a pretty good player. You know what I mean? As a second round edge rusher. So like, there's a lot of things about that organization. When you strip down all of the bells and whistles, it's actually a pretty well-run place.
Right.
And like, when was the last time, seriously now, when was the last time we looked at the Cowboys and really thought talent was a huge issue?
Not a whole lot.
Pre-Parcells, probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they've always had good players. And we're talking about like 20 years now that it's been that way, from back when Jeff Ireland was, in McClay's role, to, Tom Siskowski, and then Will McClay. Like, their personnel department's been really well run. I just it's stuff like this that I think, I don't know. Again, I think Jerry's a fantastic businessman as an owner, but sometimes he just can't get out of his own way with this stuff. And
well, for about 30 years, he hasn't been able to get out of his own way.
Right. So now the thing is, like, now, to be fair to him, we can't really judge it because this wasn't a move for right now. Right. So, I mean, they do have 2 first-round picks coming, and Kenny Clark is a good player. So, I mean, there's a chance that, like, they really use the 4 first-round picks over the next couple of years to extend their window out, or they do something else with the picks.
I suppose.
So it's hard to pass final judgment on it, but there's no question that, like, in the here and the now, if you thought the team was close in an NFC that's pretty wide open, like, it's a little harder to justify this one. I personally think, and this is just putting pieces together, I personally think their realization was maybe they weren't going to win a Super Bowl with the group as presently constituted, which pushed them to give in on the trade request.
I just wonder. I mean, Dak was unconscious last night. I mean, that pass to Jalen Tolbert in overtime was one of the 5 best throws and catches that I've seen of, like, the last calendar year of NFL football. Mm-hmm. And he just looks so much more mobile. He looks so much more comfortable. That offense works for him. And again, you're saying this, they did it against a good defense without CeeDee Lamb. And I just, I wonder what, let's go back 2 years. Like, let's say, even if you just signed Derrick Henry for pennies on the dollar because he wanted to go there, and then you re-signed Micah Parsons when you were supposed to, and that team is 3-1 right now. Are we not talking about them as a legit, very exciting potential Super Bowl contender?
I mean, sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely, yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I like, and that's the thing is, like, I think, like, they had looked at it like, you're kind of like, if you pay Micah, then and they tried to pay Micah. That's the part of it too. It's not like they didn't. It's not like they just made this decision consciously. Like, this was more of a, all right, well, if we're in this spot in the negotiation, we have to start looking at, like, the idea of what this would look like without him as part of the equation.
Yeah.
So it's not like they weren't saying, okay, like, we're unwilling to pay him. But if you do pay him with what he's making, with what Lamb's making, with what Dak's making, you're sort of locked in with that core, and you have less flexibility to balance out the roster. I don't know. I mean, I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure that I buy that is a Super Bowl winning team with Micah out there. Maybe, like, I don't know, maybe you disagree, but I'm still not sure that's a Super Bowl winning team with Micah out there.
Contending. I don't know. But let's get to the Packers side of it real quick. That was, I mean, anytime you put up 40 points, applause for you, but the defense fell apart. The special teams fell apart. And Matt LaFleur has dealt with this time and time again. And you thought importing Rich Bisaccia was finally the fix to high-profile special teams breakdowns. Now, we're in a little bit of a Wild West right now, where I would say all coaches are adjusting to what the new kickoff brings and how we're supposed to cover it and how we're supposed to attack it. But the Packers were sliced up on special teams. Their defense just bent constantly in this game, and it was a disappointing one. I mean, I think that they've gone from 2-0, oh my God, this team is impossible to stop, to that initial Micah wave has diminished to the point where he's a great player that's going to draw double teams and allow you to do other stuff, but they're not doing other stuff, And I don't know. I mean, I was disappointed right on down to the clock management in that overtime period.
The clock management, yeah, that part of it like was weird, and I didn't really, because they left a timeout on the table, right?
Correct.
So they had a timeout at the end. I don't understand. Like,
well, no, they didn't have a timeout at the end because that's why they had to kick the field goal with a second left. But they delayed the usage of it was strange in that period. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Either way, like they should have had a better shot. They should have been more, at least in my mind. And maybe it was something that was, maybe it was something they had seen earlier in the game that was preventing them from being a little bit more aggressive and pushing the ball down the field. But, in that situation, to not give yourself more shots at getting at the end zone there, I thought was at least a little bit strange. And even like leaving it to, and we've seen this like more and more now, being content with the 53-yard field goal. I mean, to me, that's still playing with fire. You know what I mean? That's still
I agree.
A long way. Huh?
I agree. Yeah. I mean, the fact that so many of these coaches are just content with,
we saw from Schottenheimer a couple of weeks ago at the 64-yarder, which I was like, whoa, they're running the ball at the end. You know what I mean? Like, what are they doing? And it works out, but I don't know. I mean, like, I think that's part of the reason we've probably seen so many blocks the last couple of weeks. And I've talked to I actually texted with some special teams coaches about this yesterday, about like the reasoning for this. And I thought it was interesting too. Like, one of them mentioned to me, like, the amount of time allotted to the new kickoff now, like takes away from time people are spending on field goal operation. And maybe that's leading to some of the breakdowns. And then some teams have seen some things in the field goal operation where they're getting a little bit more creative with the field goal block team. Like, they're putting real effort into trying to block field goals. Because from longer distances, maybe you have a better shot at them because they're lower trajectory kicks, So there's some interesting stuff there too.
Where does Green Bay go from here? I mean, that's what's interesting to me. Is like, I just feel like, I mean, is this a 2-week flash in the pan? Because the Browns got waxed pretty good by the Lions on Sunday. And I think that we kind of they're starting to settle in as kind of who we thought they were, and the Lions kind of who we thought they were. Was this a mirage, like a 2-week boost that you got from getting a great generational player and nobody having any tape on it? Or is this a peak and valley for you?
Well, I mean, now they've got the weirdly early bye, right? So you come out of that, and you have the Bengals with Jake Browning, and you're at Arizona. So I think there's a chance to recover there. The schedule isn't that arduous. I do think a game like last night can be productive because, it was on your quarterback to win that game, and so, like, the fact that they had to throw the ball, was it 43 times? They had to come back at the end. Like, I think those are good experiences that you can bank. They spread the ball around. I thought Jordan Love was on balance pretty good last night. So, I think seeing that's obviously a positive. I still think that there's a process for Jeff Hafley and the defensive coaches of, okay, like, how do we best integrate Micah Parsons? Because he's not a traditional edge rusher. Like, he's not DeMarcus Ware. You don't just line him up on the edge and, like, all right, go. I think to get the most out of him, you got to move him around and do different things with him. And you have to be, I think you have to be judicious in how you use him too, because some of what he does can be out of structure. He's not always the most disciplined player. So you can, like, which is part of the problem Dallas had with him. And it's, I think, where Dan Quinn had a lot of success with him. Like, Dan Quinn actually, and this was actually interesting when I was digging around at the time of the trade, Dan Quinn actually played him off the ball more because he knew it would force him to play to his responsibilities. Whereas if he constantly had his hand in the dirt, like he knew Micah would just sort of chase sacks, chase big plays, And so there was a way of like balancing that out. I know DQ felt this way, where it was like, let's give him a little more responsibility. And that way, at the very least, we won't be caught out of structure quite as much with him. And we can still leverage the big plays from him by rushing him from different spots, if that makes sense, Whereas like, then they start to play him more exclusively as an edge rusher. And now it's just, he's this golden retriever chasing the ball.
The Cowboys,
and I know that I know people look at him. I know, because I think it's an interesting conversation, right? Like I know people look at him and think like, oh, well, I'd absolutely put him on the edge. That's where he can make the most big plays. Well, it also can be where he can get himself and his team in the most trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I've said all along he's been more effective and I think better, like in the A and the B gaps. I think he's just been a more interesting player and a tougher player to stop. And I'm not quite sure why he hasn't been more featured there. But the Packers have to get into this. I mean, this is going to be a season long and really, I mean, a half decade long experimentation. You know what I mean? So it's I don't know. I mean,
look, it's 4 games in, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I do think to some degree there's a process of figuring out exactly what to do with him. He is not like, I just think I firmly believe this with players like him. Like, I don't think you get the most out. Like, again, like I understand, like statistically, like whatever analytics you want to put on it, the numbers are going to look better if you play him as an edge rusher, right? Like just exclusively as an edge rusher. But I don't think like that necessarily is getting the most out of a player like that. It's like, would you get the most out of Alvin Kamara if you just handed him the ball 20 times?
Right.
No. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you want to use him to threaten the defense even when he doesn't get the ball. You want the defense to have to account for him on every play. You want when the Saints break the huddle, what they're looking for is the defense to immediately be looking at where number 41 is going. You know what I mean? Like, and I sort of feel like Mike is the same thing. If you know where he's going on every play, if you know where he's going to line up on every play, it makes it easier to deal with him. If you're using him in all kinds of different ways, the production may not look quite the same, but what you're going to be able to do to an offensive football team is, I think, going to have a bigger impact on the game, which is, I think, is something that Dan Quinn recognized when he was coaching him a couple of years ago.
Green Bay coming up has the Bengals, which you kind of like for them. The Cardinals, which you kind of like for them. Steelers. I mean, I think they're just as good at or better than the Steelers. Panthers, which you love for them. You love for anybody.
They have a chance to roll, I think.
I was going to say, and then the Eagles, which is November 10th, but then the Giants on the 16th. So, I mean,
you could be 6-2 and go with Philly coming into Lambeau,
Yeah. I mean, okay, and then 6-3, 7. I mean, how many Packers fans would take 7-3?
Right.
If you beat the Bengals and the Steelers.